Please remain standing for the national anthem, sung by Stevens Sr., Rainy Case.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much, Rainey. You may be seated. Good evening. Good evening. I am Dr. Diane Lynch, and I am the president of Stevens College. And it is my absolute privilege and pleasure to welcome you here this evening to the 2021 graduate winter commencement. That's an applause line. Yay, here we are. Let's say hello. Thank you so much to all of you for making this very special in-person celebration possible, joining us in keeping all of us safe and healthy. While we do not need to stick to strict social distancing for everybody, we do have some social distance seating up on the mezzanine if anybody would like to relocate. We also will be propping the doors open to increase airflow. And as we all head out to spend some wonderful, amazing, loving time with our loved ones over the holidays, we ask that we do all wear our masks during the ceremony, except during our time at the podium. In short, each of us is taking responsibility for the safety and well-being of all of us, and I want to thank you all, and I know our graduates thank you as well. I also want to thank those who made this event possible, in addition to our graduates. Our accomplished and dedicated faculty, and especially Dr. Monica McMurray, Professor, School of Arts and Humanities, and Faculty Chair, who is serving tonight as our head marshal. Our remarkable and committed staff, including the entire commencement committee, and especially Lita Pistono, who's the executive assistant in the president's office and my office, who runs my life, and the woman in charge of these exceptional proceedings. Now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Leslie Willey, our Vice President of Academic Affairs, to the podium.
It is fitting that we honor our distinguished faculty today. The Stevens College faculty have an immense impact on the lives of students as professors, as mentors, as advisors, and as friends. They ask for the best from each student, and they give their best. They're passionate about teaching, generous with their time and talents, thoughtful, concerned, and inspirational. Each of our faculty has made significant contributions to the college, to their profession, and to the thousands of students they have taught over the years. Would the faculty of Stevens College please stand and be recognized? I would especially like to recognize an award-winning undergraduate faculty member. The recipient of the 2021 Distinguished Teaching Award is Sarah Lindy Patel, Assistant Professor and Program Chair of Equestrian Studies in the School of Health Sciences. Please join me in congratulating Sarah. I also want to recognize your program directors, Dr. Dan Kissinger, Director of the Counseling Program, and Dr. Megan Blakemore, Director of the Physician Assistant Program. Both provide strong leadership and mentorship to their students and faculty. Will the program directors please stand and be recognized? Finally, I would like to recognize the contributions of our academic leadership team. Dr. Julia Moffett, Dean of the School of Health Sciences, Jennifer Hemphill, Dean of the Conservatory for the Performing Arts, and Chase Thompson, Interim Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs. These academic leaders provide vision, direction, and support to the faculty and students at Stephens College. Would the members of the academic leadership team please stand to be recognized? It is now my pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker this evening. Bob Sobule is the founding director of the University of Missouri School of Medicine Postgraduate Physician Assistant Psychiatric Fellowship Program. He runs an inpatient psychiatric team at Missouri Psychiatric Center, where he provides psychiatric consultants and emergency psychiatric evaluations at the University Hospital, as well as interventional psychiatric treatments. He also provides telepsychiatric services with Brave Psychiatry and Counseling. Bob is involved in several institutional, state, and national organizations, including serving as the chair of the Advanced Practice Provider Credentialing Committee for the University of Missouri Healthcare System, the director at large for the Missouri Academy of Physician Assistants from 2017 to 2020, the treasurer for the Association of Postgraduate Physician Assistant Programs, an executive board member for the Association of Physician Assistants in Psychiatry, and an advisory board member for the Stephens College Physician Assistant Program. Bob has also proudly served as a clinical preceptor for dozens of outstanding Stephens College Physician Assistant students, consistently taking 1 to 2 students every clinical rotation since 2017. Please join me in welcoming Bob Sobule to the stage.
Good evening. Thank you for that introduction, Dr. Willie. Thank you for the invitation to be here. While I will be the first to admit I am not overtly familiar with the Master of Education in Counseling program, I am quite familiar with the outstanding quality of education and training you all have received from Stephens College. As a preceptor, advisory board member, and former member of the PA program here, I have firsthand experience in consistently seeing and being impressed with exponential growth of the PA program, and have no doubts the same applies to the counseling program. It is truly an honor to be speaking to all of you today. I'm so excited to be standing up here to congratulate every one of you on making it through these rigorous programs. You have all made so many sacrifices, from the financial burden to time away from family and friends, and let us not kid ourselves here and overlook the emotional and mental sacrifices you all have made as well. Easy is not a word that exists in the vocabulary at Stephens College. It can't be found in any syllabi, or you won't hear it come out of any faculty member's mouth, much less any master's degree program out there. Furthermore, you all completed these programs through arguably one of the most tumultuous times of our recent history. Through a world-changing pandemic that brought so much loss and drastically changed our lives, devastating civil injustices, dramatic polarization, and disheartening political unrest, all of you persevered, which makes today even more special. Really, that is an impressive feat. As difficult as these past few years have been, there have also been some wonderful things to come about. We have vastly increased access to healthcare, education, social needs, and commerce through advancements in utilization of virtual communication, increasing accessibility for healthcare, social distancing, mask wearing, and other precautions dramatically decreased illness, hospitalizations, and death caused by other illnesses, particularly influenza. According to a report in the Scientific American, deaths from influenza dropped from 22,000 and 34,000 respectively in the 2 previous seasons prior to the COVID-19 pandemic to only 600. Many of us have spent more time with family and close friends, perhaps finding a new appreciation for the importance of intimate and close relationships, be that familial, romantic, or platonic. We have developed new forms of entertainment, socializing, and I bet several of you out there have even found new hobbies. As a mental health professional, I have this wonderful opportunity to speak to all of you today, and I would be remiss if I didn't take a few moments to discuss mental health, especially with some future providers going into mental health sitting here right in front of me. As I was discussing earlier, the pandemic stretched far beyond impacting our physical health and daily lives. In 2020, the percentage of United States adults reporting a negative impact on their mental health related to COVID-19 increased from roughly 1/3 of the population to nearly 53% by July. This quickly became of particular interest to me and relevant to all of you graduating from both the counseling and PA programs, as the pandemic also highlighted the disparities in access and costs of mental health care, in addition to bringing more awareness to the importance of mental health care, which throughout history has been stigmatized, overlooked, and sadly dismissed. At least 14 studies have shown that patients with serious mental illness receive worse medical care than those without. In 2021, the World Health Organization labeled this stigma and discrimination as a hideous human rights emergency. While an increased rate of reported mental health struggles is never a good thing, several communities, healthcare systems, and providers have adapted their models to address these barriers and help catalyze a movement to better address mental health. Mental illness can be elusive. So many feel embarrassed or stigmatized, often leading their illness to go unchecked and lead to more devastating sequelae. It doesn't matter if you're going into orthopedics, surgery, neurology, emergency medicine, nephrology, or family practice, which, by the way, those of you going to family practice, you will often be the first ones to diagnose and treat mental illness. All of you will encounter those struggling with mental illness. While you may not be working in a psychiatric field, you could be the one who recognizes an unmet need and truly impacts someone's life in a way you never thought imagined. I'm not saying you're going to be the one treating them, but just by recognizing the symptoms, supporting them, letting them know they're not alone, encourage them to seek help, or making the appropriate referral, possibly to someone sitting right next to you tonight, looking at you future psych PAs and counselors, you will make a difference. As I wrap things up here, I want to quickly track back to the topic of sacrifice. I would like all of our graduates here to take a moment to thank and recognize the sacrifices your loved ones have made to support you through this challenging journey. While we are primarily here to recognize and celebrate the graduates, I would like all of you graduating tonight to please stand, look at, and give a round of applause to your loved ones. Okay, back to you all. You have all worked so diligently to be sitting here where you are today. Think about it. You are now masters of your profession. Only 13% of the country can say that. All of you will be going into various disciplines with the common goal of helping those in need. You have been well prepared and are surely excited to finally put your skills into practice. It can also be anxiety-provoking going from a student to a practitioner. Don't worry, I want to assure each and every one of you, completely normal, all of us go through it. All of you will have at some point some degree of trepidation and anxiety as you take this next step. Every provider I know has struggled with this, as I mentioned. Remember, while you are now masters, in terms of carrying out your practice, you are novices. Look to your experienced peers, mentors, supervisors for advice and guidance, and never, ever at any point think you know everything. Be it medicine, counseling, education, whatever. Don't ever give up your thirst for knowledge and continuously look for ways to further enhance your practice. Congratulations, graduates. Every single person in this room is so incredibly proud of you all, and we all look forward to the wonderful things you will do and the lives you will impact. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for pursuing your passion to enhance the lives of others and making the decision to land you in these seats today.
Thank you so much, Bob. Our class speaker, representing the December 2021 graduates, Joe Golaski, earned his Bachelor of Arts in Biology from Grinnell College in Iowa and is currently graduating with his Master of Physician Assistant Studies from Stevens. As a physical therapy technician prior to PA school, Joe has had experience working in a variety of care settings. As a published research author, he investigates advances in medicine and promoting innovative approaches to providing medical care. He is currently investigating the use and perceptions of medical scribes among healthcare providers and understanding the long-term nicotine-mediated health effects of vaping among adolescent and youth populations. Before I invite Joe to the stage, I would ask that his family please stand and be recognized. Please join me in welcoming Joe to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. I just want to start off by saying how nice it is to get to be here, to see all of you gathered here, and to be able to celebrate such an important day for us graduates. The last couple years have been challenging and difficult in so many ways, and COVID-19 has affected all of us sitting here in one way or another. But tonight we get to set that aside for a couple hours and celebrate the incredible accomplishment of all of us graduates gathered here today. And it really is an incredible accomplishment. I'll never forget that feeling after walking out of our first clinical medicine exam. Believe me, it was not a good feeling. Or being so nervous about practicing my first IV, I literally sweated through the palms of my latex gloves. Or walking into the door on the first day of my first rotation, I was so nervous I sat in the waiting room for 10 minutes before the front office receptionist had to come out and ask me why this guy was just sitting there in a white student's coat and why he wasn't doing anything. But I like to think we had some pretty good times too. You know, in between all those late night study sessions and days spent on Zoom were some good memories. I remember watching Chiefs games together downstairs on the fishbowl projector while studying for anatomy, or singing Glenn Campbell's Rhinestone Cowboy on our way into taking EOR exams. Shout out to Jordan and Marcus. Graduate school is very difficult, but I think we've all made friendships and connections that will last far beyond our time at Stevens. I'd like to think that any one of you can reach out to me in the future as a friend or a colleague, and I could do the same. I'm truly grateful to have met each and every one of you, and I can't wait to see what amazing things you all go on to do as people and providers. It's my understanding we also have a graduating student here today from the Stevens Counseling Program. I may not know you personally, nor do I understand the unique difficulties and challenges you have faced while in school, but I do want to acknowledge how hard you must have worked to have gotten to this point, and I commend your resilience towards finishing graduate school in the era of COVID-19. I wish you all the best of luck in the future as an individual and a provider. Quickly, before I wrap up, I want to say a couple words of thanks. Thank you to all the family, friends, and partners that have helped each of us graduates along during our time in school. None of it would have been possible without all of you. And thank you to the faculty for providing guidance and support, especially with the unique challenge presented by COVID-19, and I hope we can all live up to the example that you have set for us. And lastly, I want to thank my classmates for making the last 2.5 years of my life interesting and fun. I wish you all the best of luck in whatever you go on to do. And now I think I'll be done. Congratulations to the graduating class of 2021.
Thank you, Joe, and congratulations. As Vice President for Academic Affairs, it is my pleasure to present these candidates for degrees. Will the candidate for the Master of Education please stand and be recognized? Will the candidates for the Master of Physician Assistant Studies please stand and be recognized? Assistant Professor Brett Olson will announce each candidate who crosses the stage to receive a diploma. Students graduating with honors are wearing a medallion symbolizing their achievement. Before we begin the presentation of diplomas, I'm going to ask that all candidates for degrees stand as President Lynch confers your individual degrees. President Lynch, On behalf of the faculty, I present these candidates for conferring of degrees.
Okay. By the authority of the state of Missouri, given to the trustees of Stevens College and entrusted to me by them, I hereby award to you, upon recommendation of the faculty, the degrees that you have earned during the course of your studies at Stevens College, with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining, in token whereof we shall present you with your diplomas. Graduates, you may now move your tassels from right to left. And everybody, now's the time to show them just how proud we are of their accomplishment. Let's let them do it for a while. Will you please be seated? Degree candidates, the marshals will bring you up one row at a time.
Do you have your card? Do you have your card? I can tell. You can just tell me. Yeah. Joe Glasky. You're the one. All right. Joe Glasky. Jackie Elizabeth Esser, Master of Education and Counseling. Jordan Ryle Allensworth, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Hannah Christine Bauman, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Nathan Scott Beasley, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Renee Nicole Behrens, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Alexis Jenna Bores, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Caitlin Jenna Burke, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Samantha Marie Carroll, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Emily Carroll Dalton, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Taylor Judith Edwards, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Brittany Mae Elliott, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Kelsey Lynn Franklin, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Lauren Nicole Fuller, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Erica Danielle Gardner, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Marcus James Guerrero, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Cody Lee Hillis, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Susanna Elizabeth John, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Carly Jordan Close, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Elizabeth Nicole Kmita, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Taylor Ray Laverdier, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Morgan Lee Lewis, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Kelsey Renee McConnell, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Annabelle Erica Pacheco, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Luke Andrew Peda, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Holly Rebecca Reese, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Madeline Morgan Tegardine, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Travis Edmund Turnage, Master of Physician Assistant Studies. Andrea Weinstein, Master of Physician Assistant Studies.
Okay, everybody, one more time. Let's give it up for the class of 2021. As we close your commencement ceremony this evening, it's my responsibility as president to leave you with a charge, a set of directions, some words of wisdom. I'm always daunted by that, especially with this group, knowing what you've been through, knowing how rigorous your work has been, the curriculum, the demanding, long hours. I see the lights on. I live on campus, and I know how hard you've worked and how complicated it's been by COVID. So as I sat down, and Lita, my assistant, will know I've rewritten this a couple of times this week, thinking hard about what I could possibly say to you that you don't already know, or that perhaps is relevant right this minute as you complete one enormous, extraordinary, daunting journey and challenge, and are about to pivot, I hate that word, about to move into the next extraordinary challenge and adventure in your life. So I've condensed it down to the simple, which is not the trite and is not the easy. I'm going to share with you just three brief takeaways that I hope you will incorporate into the way you think about your next steps, the work that you're going to be doing, the challenges that you're going to face. I love the fact that you are masters and novices all at the same time. And you have become confident, I trust, in your capacity and your ability and your intellect and your work ethic and your compassion and your commitment. And you're about to be tested in all of those ways, in all of those incredibly daunting and so important and valuable and inspiring ways. So I'm going to give you just a couple things that I hope at least one might resonate. And the first one is pay attention. Be present. You're going to be running from one moment to another, from one room to another, from one perhaps emergency to another. And I don't do that work, but I work with students. And I've learned over the years that the one thing that I can give a student in the middle of all of the chaos of my responsibilities as the president of this amazing little college is my attention, my undivided, look you in the face, I see you attention. It's the greatest gift we can give. I think it's a human birthright, but it's also difficult to find the time and to remember how important it is. The other thing, as an aside, I would say, especially in the presence of those you love the most, put down your phone. Just saying. Recalibrate, and be willing to recalibrate. And sometimes it's hard to do that because you're in your lane and you've picked your career and you've picked the horizon. My grandmother always told me, always, know which horizon you're headed for. Because if you don't know, that's where you end up. We don't live our lives in straight lines, and my guess is many of you have taken some zigs and zags to get here. You know what? I always say interesting people don't live their lives in straight lines. So I'm not talking about knowing a direct path into your future and making decisions now. That you've made a lot of decisions and here you are. And you get to now it's time to actually enjoy the benefits of and the opportunities of the decisions that you've made. But I'm talking about knowing where you're headed and what that horizon is. And I'm talking about being willing to stop now and exhale and consider and maybe reset that horizon. Not for tomorrow and not for next week and not for next month and maybe not for 5 years, but you still are going to end up where you're headed. And it's so important to take the time. You know, we get into our lives, and you're going to get into your lives, and they're going to be really busy. And you get up and you do what you're supposed to do, and now you can go home and go to sleep, maybe. Big improvement, right? But then you get up and you do it again, right? and it's habituated, and that's a gift. But sometimes it's easy to stop thinking about it. And so my advice to you is recalibrate intentionally and on purpose on a regular basis. Doing so confirms the purpose and the intention and the value of the rituals and the daily work that you do. The thousands, millions of decisions you make, steps you take, habits you develop should be intentional. So think about the horizon. Think about where do you want to be in 5 years. And I don't mean necessarily in career, in terms of your career, though, that's helpful. I mean you as a person in relation to the rest of the people in your life, in relation to the dreams that you hold, and in relation to whatever is your true north. Your true north has to have guided you here. But true norths are big. They're stars. So make sure you look up from the incredibly valuable, important work that you're going to be doing. And third, choose what to think about. Choose what to think about. There's an author and a poet named David Foster Wallace. And if there's one thing you take away from me today, it's David Foster Wallace. He gave a speech in 2009 that is, by any measure or any metric, the best commencement speech anybody has ever given at Kenyon College to undergraduates. It's out and you can get it on Amazon, and it's called This is Water. This is Water. I listen to it at least 3 times a week. The essence of what he said is that we can choose in our lives the stories we tell ourselves about the experiences we have and the people we see and know. I have 4 children, and they grow up hearing me say, "Be careful the stories you tell yourself, for surely you will believe them." We get to choose whether we're going to be frustrated or angry or cynical about other people's motivations or ignorance or petty grievances. They don't show up on time. They're not prepared. They don't do what we think. They're in our way. He talks about the fact that we suffer this fundamental flaw, and that is that we are at the center of the universe, each of us, and that whatever happens around us is happening fundamentally to get in our way and annoy us, when in fact, actually, it's the greatest flaw in our thinking. We can choose to tell ourselves stories about the people and experiences in our lives that instead reflect compassion and understanding and sense of humor. And it's habituated. It's habituated how we tell stories. He talks about being in the grocery store, and and you get at the end of the day and you're beside yourself, and it's loud and it's messy and you don't want to be there, and the people in line are so annoying, and the person in front of you is on her cell phone and she's just doing it to annoy you. And then you realize, wait a minute, maybe that person's got a sick husband at home, or maybe that person who's yelling at her daughter, and I think, what a terrible parent that person is in fact suffering mental health issues or tragedy in her life. The stories we tell speak not just to our own heart, but to how we are in the world as those who care and are going to be providers of care. I encourage you. You're educated to do that. You have the bandwidth, the intellect, and the self-awareness to choose the stories you tell. So, in summary, because when you teach, you say what you're going to say, you say it, and then you tell them what you said, right? So what I just said is pay attention. Pay attention, focus, one thing at a time. Look directly at the person in front of you. We all deeply need to be seen. You end up where you're headed, the horizons you choose, know what your true north is, and be ready and willing and intentional about remapping, recalibrating, reconsidering, because it gives your life direction. And choose what to think about. The stories in our heads shape our experiences in the world. So be careful and thoughtful about the stories you tell. And remember, this is water. And I know I said 3, but I actually have 4. It's a trick. And the last one is read. Going back to read. Read. Skim, scan, post, tweet, whatever. I'm deeply respectful of social media. But don't. Reading is the best and most efficient way to become more interesting and interested. You can't be your best self if you don't read. And that's enough for one presidential charge. and one very happy graduation celebration. As we close, I wish you all the best. We are so happy for you and for your extraordinary support networks and loved ones. And I'm so proud as your president and grateful to know that such a remarkable group of Stevens graduates are going to be out changing and saving lives. Thank you. And now, Rainey Case will close our ceremony by singing the Stevens hymn. And I ask that you remain in your seats until the students have processed out. Thank you so much for being with us, and happy holidays.
Stevens, our Stevens, hail to thee. We'll praise thy name through all eternity. Thy 10 ideals will live so you can see that dear old Stevens, we hail to thee. Treasuring memories ever dear, singing your praise for everyone to hear. Living ideals for all the world to see, that dear old Stevens, we hail to thee.